Hey guys, it's Friday Devotion with Pastor Brad. I hope you're doing well. This morning, I was reading and thinking about the encounter of Jesus with the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. And it's recorded for us in John 4. And if you want to read that whole encounter, that would be great. You can go back and do that. But I don't want to walk through the whole story as much as I just want to highlight something that I think most of us in our walk with the Lord and our belief and our faith, we wrestle between doing what's right and doing what we want. And so much of our walk with the Lord is simply sin management, or attempting to contain the natural self and live and walk by the Spirit. Now we should be doing that. That's right. However, there's something else, and it ought to flow out of our appreciation for what God is doing in us, is evangelism. And you notice in this encounter with the woman at the well, Jesus, his version or his example of evangelism is almost completely different than ours. He talks to this woman and asks her for some water, and she gives him a little pushback. Why are you asking me? And then he says, well, if you knew who was asking you, or in other words, if you knew what I had to offer, you'd be asking me for what I have, because what I have is far more valuable than what's in that well. What's in that well will satisfy your thirst today, but what I have is rivers of living water and satisfies utterly and completely. And we, the believer, have access to that river of living water. That is Jesus. And we don't think like that very often. We don't think what we actually have to offer is infinitely more valuable than the things of the world. And we don't present it that way. And so there's almost a sense in which when we want to present Jesus to people, we're sheepish about it. We're like, well, I don't want to offend you, and if you look at this encounter, that is not what's happening. Jesus is direct with her. Matter of fact, he's so direct with her, he's offensive about her sin. I'm not encouraging you to go around offending people intentionally. I'm saying that truth often offends, and Jesus shares with her truth. And there's this place where the Samaritan woman, she goes on to say, you Jews say we should worship on this mountain, and the Samaritans say we should worship here. And the Lord's response is, yet a time is coming and has now come when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For this is the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. He is spirit, and his worshipers must worship him in spirit and in truth. And the woman said, and I know the Messiah, called the Christ, is coming, and when he comes, he will explain all these things. Jesus says, I am he, right? He is the Messiah. He's the one who comes and teaches us about God so that we can understand what is truth, what is worship, and all those things. And what I love about the whole story is her response to all of this evangelism. It says here in verse 28, chapter 4, then leaving her jar of water, the woman went back, so leaving it, doesn't even care, went back to her town and said to the people, come and see the man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah? They came out of the town and made their way towards him. Springing forth out of her gratitude for being challenged, convicted in sin, shown the truth of who Jesus is, she shares it with the people in her town. And verse 39, and she does such a good job at it, so I'm going to jump ahead to verse 39, that their response is this: many of the Samaritans from the town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. So all she does is go and share. This man knew me. He knew me better than I knew myself. He really knows me. He could be the Messiah. And they believed. So obviously she's convinced. She begins to convince other people. And then it goes on. So when the Samaritans came to him, they urged him to stay with them. And he stayed with them 2 days. And because of his words, many more became believers. And they said to the woman, we no longer believe just because you have said so. Now we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this man really is the Savior of the world. Guys, Jesus is the Savior of the world. And I think part of that relationship is, yes, trying to manage sin in our own lives. But a huge part of it, an exciting part of it, is sharing Jesus with the rest of the world that they might know and have relationship with Christ. God bless.